In my last video, I shared the importance of securing your future financially, and I also shared how it's extremely risky to rely solely on a 9 to 5 job as your only source of income. Now, if you're yet to watch that video, make sure you go and watch the video right before this one, but make sure you stay to watch this video so that by the time you go back, it makes much more sense. Today, I want to talk about personal finance, and I really want to speak to females because I believe that females sometimes don't take, their personal finance as important as men. And I believe that one of the reasons is simply because when we look at, our world, our culture, men have that financial responsibility to take care of their family. And so naturally, you're going to find men being very intentional about their finances. You're going to see men looking for how to make more money just because they have that mindset that they have to take care of their family. And so one of the ways they do that is through finances. And sometimes there's some females who think that, it's not very important. But I'm here to tell you that personal finance is everybody's business, whether you're male or female. You have to take charge of your personal finance. You have to be in control of your money. Your funds have to make money for yourself so that you are not stranded in any way, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in your career. You have the money to fall back to whenever you need it. So it's very important that we take personal finance as a top priority, most especially if we are working professionals, right? Because sometimes, the fact that we have a 9 to 5 job, sometimes is a blessing and a curse in itself. A blessing in the fact that we have that consistent, source of income, but a curse when we rely heavily on that source of income and we don't do anything about expanding, our source of income. For me, I started to take personal finance really serious when I lost my job when I was not expecting it. And I feel like everybody needs to have that haha moments where they're like, you know what? It's time for me to take my life serious because, hey, it is very important. There's so many things that have happened in the last couple of years that we didn't plan for. People did not plan for COVID. Nobody planned for a pandemic. Like nobody said, you know what, I'm going to have emergency savings for a pandemic. No, we did not do that. But some of us, just planned for the unknown. And so when the pandemic came and maybe we lost our jobs, we were not as frustrated as other people who did not have a plan B. And that's why it's very important that personal finance is a subject that you take extremely seriously. Now, how do you get started with personal finance? I believe the small steps makes all of the difference. You've always lived your life in a certain way. And so if you want to make progress in your finances, I don't encourage you to, go all hard, because when you go all hard, you will surely fall because you're not used to that life. And so I encourage, those of us that are new to personal finance to just easily go into it and make those adjustments that you might not even really notice, but the adjustments that are making your life improve significantly. And that is what matters. Now, what is the first step that I want you to take as you improve yourself financially? Is for you to have savings, right? And if you're working, one of the ways you get savings is from your income, right? That paycheck that you get every 2 weeks or every month. Now, for you to actually save, you've got to have something that you're saving from. And so your first step is for you to actually take an audit of your finances. And that is where budgeting comes into play. Okay. And to make things super easy for you, I actually have an Excel that I've attached to this video that all you have to do is put in your numbers and you will see what your finances actually look like. And then you can begin to take the necessary steps to get you to where you want to be. Okay. So what you need to do is take a look at that finance and input your numbers. How much do you bring in on a monthly basis or every 2 weeks, or how often you bring in your money? And then how much do you spend? I need you to take an overview of your life so that you know where your money is going to and whether you're actually spending where it matters. And until you do that, it might be very difficult for you to start saving. So it's important that you actually have a clear picture of where your money is going to and how your money is coming in. And that's what budget does for you, and it's very simple, a clear Excel sheet. Over the past week, I was, watching a video of a lady who earns $4,000 every month. She spends $2,500 on rent. She's renting a one-bedroom apartment, I think somewhere in Florida. So she spends $2,500 on rent. And then by the time she spends, utility, gas, and every other bill, student loan, she's left with $100 every month. Now, she was shocked that, oh my goodness, so $100 is all I have. And no wonder she had a lot of credit cards racked up, because credit card was what was actually supporting her life all this while. She had only $100 after doing the math. And that's why it's important that we start with budgeting. Have a clear picture of what your finances look like so that you can begin to know where to make adjustments. Obviously, if I had to advise her, the first thing I would do is you've got to reduce that rent. Your salary cannot afford where you are living. So obviously, she probably is living in an eyebrow environment, where it's a luxury apartment. To be paying $2,500 for a one-bedroom apartment that is less than 800 square feet, okay? So one of the things that she could do in that situation is to find somewhere else to live that can be cheaper. So maybe she could save $500 there or $700 there, depending. One of the things that she had going on for her when I reviewed, budget was the fact that she had a car that was fully paid for. So that means you can actually live further away from your place of work, because one thing she stated was that she was only 5 minutes away from her place of work. So it was really convenient. She could actually even walk down to work. But you have a car. That means you could actually live maybe a few miles further away if you could get your rent cheaper so that you have more money coming in, because that money is what you get to save. And until you actually have that clear picture of your finances, then you can't save. And so that's the first step that you've got to do. And that's what I want to encourage every one of you watching this video. I want you to click the Excel in the link of today's video and map out your numbers so that you know exactly where you are, and you can begin to look at the things that you can possibly change so that you have extra cash to then start saving. Some of us, it might be the fact that we're overspending on groceries. Some of us, it might be the fact that we're overspending on clothing. Some of us, it might be the fact that we're overspending on outings. We're going out to eat, every weekend. Some of us, it might be on entertainment. Some of us, it might be on subscriptions. But you never know until you reflect, until you document all those numbers and know for a fact where your money is going to. And that's why budgeting is extremely important. That's your first step towards your financial freedom. That is a reflection of what behaviors you have financially. And until you realize how you're spending your money, then you're never going to change. Because even if you earn more, if you don't change that behavior, if you don't adjust your foundation, you're still going to keep spending even if you earn more, and you still would not have savings because you haven't fixed the root cause of the problem. So I want to encourage you to make sure that you have that clear picture of what your finances look like on a month-to-month basis, or if it's bi-weekly that you get paid, have a clear picture, map out all of your expenses, map out all of your incomes. And if you have just one income stream, then just write your salary and then begin to document all of your expenses. Some of you might need to actually go into your bank account to see all the places where you're swiping to know where your money is going to, so that you know exactly what you were spending. I've seen some people's financial budget where at the end of the month, they were earning $5,000, but their expenses was $8,000. So where was $3,000 coming from? Credit cards. And that's why it's almost impossible for them to get out of that rabbit hole, because they're consistently supporting their lifestyle from borrowed funds that come at an interest rate of 30%. It's almost impossible for you to survive and get out of that rat race if you're living that way. So it's very important that we fix the foundation, and it starts with us having a budget for our personal finance. So I want to encourage you to make sure that today is that day where you map out your goals financially and begin to know exactly where you are so that you can then move to that next step of savings. Now, let's imagine that you've been able to, get that first step out of the way and you know exactly what you have. And let's assume that you have, some type of money to save. It is very important that for you to actually, get right and start doing things the right way, that you automate the process. So one of the things I want to encourage you to do when it comes to saving is for you to either create, a new bank account if you don't have, more than one account, or if you have multiple accounts, dedicate one account towards saving. That is how you have to be intentional about saving. Because when you put all of your money in one bucket, you would not know what belongs to what. And that's, how we get to overspend, because we just look at the bank account and we see money and we're like, okay, you know what? There's money available for me to swipe. But when you're conscious about saving, you separate that saving account from your regular account where you pay all of your bills, and you automate the process. So that means that you're going to tell this bank that every 2 weeks or every month, I want you to send $500 to this bank account. You can do that easily. Walk into your bank, do that online. There's so many ways you can get that done. So that's not an excuse, okay? All you have to do is instruct that every 2 weeks, I want $500, I want $200, I want $100, depending on what your budget allows for you, and automate it into that account. And make sure that that account is a savings account so that you're not paying unnecessary expenses because you're trying to save. Okay, so don't have a checking account where you're putting that money. Make sure that it's a savings account. Now, we're going to talk about different types of savings account that make sense, like the high yield savings account, but that will be for another day. But just make sure that it's a savings account that you're sending that money to. And I want you to automate that process so that every time you don't even have to think about it. And before you know it, 3 months down the line, 5 months down the line, you are shocked that, hey, I've got $2,000 in this account that I didn't even think about, because you didn't have to go do that yourself, because naturally, that is not something that you would have done in the first place. And that's how you begin to build the right behaviors towards, your finances. And that's when you begin to have that true freedom that you desire. And after a while, you will notice that you're not so overwhelmed. You're not so afraid of losing your job. It will take a while, but you will get to that stage where you truly experience freedom of, if I don't have a job tomorrow, life is not going to end. I'm just going to go look for another job, or maybe do something else that can also earn me an income. But it starts with the basics. And the basics is actually having a budget for the month, knowing exactly where your money is going to and how your money is coming in, and then being intentional about savings. I hope today's video has been super beneficial for you as you begin to stay intentional about your personal finance. And I'll catch you in the next video when we talk about more things regarding your finances. Talk to you later. Bye.